Joining me for more on these headlines on U.S. politics is political analyst Steve Chaggaris. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us today. Let's first talk about these dual runoff elections in Georgia. As you know, these results will determine who controls the U.S. Congress. Can you explain further what is at stake here?
Well, the majority is at stake, right? As you said, who controls Congress? Right now, the Republicans have a few seat advantage, but going into these runoffs, if they lose both of these races, if the Republicans lose both of them, then the Democrats will have the majority. It'll be a 50-50 Senate, and with a 50-50 Senate, the tiebreaker is the vice president. And of course, on January 20th, the new vice president will be a Democrat, Kamala Harris. So Democrats are hoping to succeed on Tuesday in both of these races. But right now, you know, the polling down there is unreliable, and whatever we do know shows that it's going to be very, very close. So I think we're all going to be watching very closely Tuesday night and maybe even afterwards if the count goes on.
One of those watching probably is President Trump. There seems to be a duality to his message to his followers. He's arguing to go out and vote in Georgia, but at the same time, he's calling this election illegal and invalid. Those are the same arguments he's made for months on his own election loss. So how much liability do you think, Steve, is Trump to this runoff and the Republican leadership in the long term?
Well, that's the big fear among Republicans right now, is that the president is not pushing forth the message that Republicans want put out there, which is they believe that the Democrats will not be good for the country. They believe that a Democratic majority, along with a House Democratic majority and a Democrat in the White House, is not a good thing. And those are the arguments they're trying to make on the stump. But then you have the president who hit on his list of priorities, 1, 2, 3, and 4, or whatever his list is, it's all about Donald Trump and delegitimizing the presidential election. And part of that, he's making this argument now saying that these votes in Georgia and the Georgia runoffs are illegal. And so, you know, that could perhaps at least Republican strategists and Republicans in Georgia and around the country fear that that's going to confuse Republican voters who might not have gone out and voted early, and they're anticipating that they want them to go vote on Tuesday. But if there are questions from the President of the United States about the legality of the election, there's a fear that the turnout might not be as robust as they hope, and perhaps this could hurt their chances on Tuesday.
Well, let's move on to another topic. It's that Senate vote on Friday to pass the defense bill into law over the objections of President Trump. It follows a similar move by the House days before. What does this say about Trump's presidency as it enters its final days and his relationship with those in his own party, his Republican Party?
Well, look, Republicans, whether they're House Republicans, Senate Republicans, Republicans around the country, have been unified behind this president for his entire presidency, in lockstep with him, not standing up to him, even when there were times when people called for Republicans to stand up to the president. Well, finally, you're starting to see, within the last few weeks of the president's term, Republicans saying we've had enough with some of the things that the president is trying to push here. And they felt that the veto of this defense bill was not for reasons enough to turn it down. Republicans supported this overwhelmingly when it passed the first time through Congress, and they decided they wanted to stand up to the president on this. The next step in terms of Republicans standing up to the president is going to be next week when it comes time to certify the election, and senators and House members have to vote to certify the electoral votes, and you're starting to see Republicans publicly sparring with the president about this. These aren't things that you've seen throughout his presidency. It's very interesting to watch because there's a political calculus, short-term and long-term, about whether Republicans should do this, which Republicans are doing this, and it's going to have ripple effects long after President Trump leaves office on January 20th.
Never a dull moment in U.S. politics. Steve Chaggaris, political analyst, thanks so much for breaking it all down for us.